Welcome everyone to the Arpedio LinkedIn Live session. Here we talk about the digital sales revolution, and today we have a special event, which is SAMA Looks to Europe. Let me start off with what you will get out of this LinkedIn Live session today. We will talk about professional and academic perspectives on strategic account management and the opportunities that come with SAM. And besides, we have some hands-on advice on how to implement SAM programs and what the actual impacts of an effective SAM program will be for big corporates. Please make sure that you follow Arpedio and SAMA on LinkedIn to be part of the community. Please enter the chat, ask your questions in the chat, and participate in the discussion. But let's start with introducing the panelists. And today we have the crème de la crème of strategic account management thought leaders here. I'm super excited to host today, and I will start with the introduction of Kai. Kai, thank you very much for being part of this again. It was great also meeting you during the SAMA Nordics Symposium. For everyone else, Kai is currently professor at Hanken School of Economics in Finland. He has made a career out of working on the borderline between academic and applied research within marketing and strategic management, with a focus on SAM and solution business models. He has over 35 years experience as a strategy consultant to European and global companies. Then we have Denise. Denise is the CEO of SAMA and has spent 40 years in sales roles at IBM, including as a SAM, a global sales leader, and the sales transformation leader for their 40,000 global sales force. After retiring from IBM, she joined SAMA to focus on the importance of strategic account management and client relationships. Then we also have Dino. Dino leads the international strategic account management activities at Allergan Aesthetics, which is part of AbbVie, and serves on the board of directors at SAMA. Prior to AbbVie, Dino spent 15 years in Big Pharma at MSD, also known as Merck, and Pfizer in marketing and sales management, commercial excellence, and customer centricity, and started his professional career as a strategy consultant at Bain & Company. Then we have Dominique. Dominique spent 30 years in the life science corporate world, leading SAM transformation as CCO in organizations like Pfizer, Zoetis, and UCB. She left the corporate world to found her own consultancy group called Kosavi to help organizations on these journeys. Dominique is also a SAMA board of directors since 2011. And last but not least, we have Ulrich. Ulrich has background as international management consultant, helping global clients like Lundbeck, Emirates Bank, Epicor, and ISS with strategic digital transformation. Since founding Arpedio in 2012, he has worked with over 150 CRM implementations and focused all efforts on his mission to empowering business professionals in B2B sales. Thank you very much for being part of this LinkedIn Live session. And I would like to kick it off with a question to you, Kai. And one of the topics we discussed in the panel of the Nordic Symposium was the opportunities for strategic account management. And I would like to narrow it a bit down and ask you, from your perspective, what are the opportunities for SAM here in Europe?
Yeah, well, thanks, Max. This is a big question, obviously, and I'm going to broaden it and not narrow it a bit by just saying that overall, we obviously have seen a very strong acceleration of marketing and sales automation, and even sales or supply chain automation. That, however, does not mean that strategic account management becomes less important. It's actually quite the opposite. So what we're seeing now is that we can engage with strategic customers in completely new ways, in a multifunctional way. And I think that the role of a strategic account manager is becoming more and more important because they need to manage those complex interactions. And that also means that the digitalization means that we can achieve much more things in a shorter time. if we can just support our accounts to deal with the speed and to reap the benefits of being very agile and change the way that they deal with this. And that creates a new role for the strategic account manager. So I've always said that the strategic account manager now is becoming even more strategic. I mean, more strategic than ever. Partly driven by the fact that the accounts are becoming much more complex. It's not only an account anymore. It's a whole system of stakeholders that they need to somehow get to be involved in that in order to create value. And in fact, what it means is that the SAM is much less a manager, and in the future, much more a leader, some sort of orchestrator of value in this complex system. So I even sometimes call them strategic ecosystem leaders and not strategic account managers. And if we bring that to Europe, I think that the issue here that we need to focus on is that we need to speed up our change processes. And SAMA actually creates an enormous opportunity for us to be involved in that, because now we need to join forces with everybody who is working on the same transformation, and SAMA is full of these members who are trying to do that. And it's important that we have more European members involved in this, because there are certain contingencies, certain special characteristics of the European business market that we need to take into account when we drive that change. And hence, I see a major opportunity now for strategic account management in Europe. Shortly.
Thank you very much,
Short
Kai.
and sweet.
Thank you. Thank you also for bringing up SAMA. And Denise, SAMA is one of the influential institutions driving these developments, not just worldwide, but also in Europe. And please tell us a bit more about SAMA, and the big question I have here: why SAMA?
Thanks so much, Max. Enjoy being here with you all today. You know, our SAMA community has been around for over 50 years, and we've grown into the largest group of professionals and community members, over 15,000, all focused on that single purpose that Kai talked about, and that's elevating the profession and the value of key account management or strategic account management. And I think, as Kai said, it's becoming even more important now to really focus on that value. And SAMA has become a way to connect with people who understand your journey in sharing the kind of experience that you have. Someone actually told me that it's kind of like therapy as you get together and talk to your peer members. Now, we've learned from the members that really engaging with the community simply helps you accelerate the kind of results that you're looking for from your SAM program, but also results for your clients. So you can avoid making mistakes, and you can leapfrog a little bit with getting to best practices. You can, whether you're building a program or even whether you're looking at how to do an individual account plan or how to gain executive commitment, there is always someone in the community and resources available that could help you quickly. Now, some of the most valued activities that our members talk about are really getting that really near instant quick access to SAM resources and best practices. They can connect personally for the organization or for SAM individual account managers with SAM experts that have been around a while. And you can benchmark your organization or even your individuals around individual competencies. And there's many ways to engage in the community, from simple to more advanced. You could attend webinars or conferences and symposiums, or you could approach formal training and external certification if you prefer. And you can even participate and learn from some of the unique SAM research that we put together. But I actually think the best part is that no matter what your role is or the company size or the industry that you're in, the community has all of the above, really to help you achieve your goals in a more effective way. So I guess I think why SAMA is kind of engaging with the members to accelerate your results.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dino, you're also part of the SAMA board, and I assume this also very much resonates with you. Preparing for this LinkedIn Live, I was especially excited to ask you this question because you have hands-on experience. You implemented a SAM program at AbbVie. Please share a bit of your experiences, and please tell us what are the impacts of an effective SAM program.
Absolutely, be a pleasure. Thank you very much, Max. So, yeah, a few weeks back, I had the opportunity to kind of really talk about what we did at Allergan Aesthetics to implement corporate-wide SAM program. If I had to really kind of think about what the key 3 points were, like a kind of guiding kind of goals that helped us to kind of stay on the right track, on the kind of right path, I'll really summarize it by saying these 3 things. First of all, very important but simple thing, SAM is a business strategy, not a role. You really have to understand when you implement strategic account management, why you're doing that, what's the driving force, what you hope to accomplish, and that again, this is really going to affect the whole company. It involves change management. It's often a new way of doing business, a new mindset. Hence, it can't be niched just as a new role that you add to kind of sales force, kind of specialists that you have already in the field. It's really having a bigger impact, and this is something that you have to kind of always keep in mind and to focus on when you think about building a global SAM program. Another kind of point which is really important as well is SAM really, and that this talks to the first one already, is an organization-wide initiative. It can't just be a sales initiative. Again, for the same reason, strategic account manager, as also kind of Kai alluded to, is a coordinator, an orchestrator. He or she will have to tap into corporate-wide capabilities, work with different functions and across divisions. So it's really important, again, that from the beginning, you keep this in mind and that you start to enable this cross-functional collaboration across divisions and functions. And I think last but not least as well, again, keeping the end in mind, SAM, or strategic account management, is a journey. It's not a one-time project. You can't give it 6 months' time, you implement it, you walk away, and the job is done. Actually, it will never be done. You, of course, have to kind of think about milestones, how to kind of implement it. So you start to build the foundations, the capabilities, and you need to recruit and hire your camps and SAMs first. Then you start to embed it organization-wide, and you can become more familiar what works, what doesn't, and you adapt and then pivot out with your program. And then actually start to excel and really reap the benefits of your kind of camps and program that you have put in place. But ultimately, you always have to revise it. You kind of adapt it, you change course, things change. We change, environment changes, and most importantly, our customers change as well. So again, it's a journey, it's an exciting journey, and that's very often, as for them as well, like the path already is the goal and not the goal itself.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. And Dominic, building up on Dino's experience, I believe that account-based marketing plays a bigger and bigger role in key account management. I know you're an expert in this field. Could you please tell us a bit more about the correlation of account-based marketing to key account management?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Max. And I think it's also a passion of mine, if I may say, building on what like Kat was saying in terms of the SAM being the strategic leader, like almost the CEO of his account, it can be a lonely role. And coming from that 30 years of corporate work, like sales and marketing have always worked together. What we're realizing the work we do is that often when we go to organization, the SAMs are trained or having a business process on one side, and marketing is still, I would say, from the inside out, like thinking about the product, how to go to market with product and focusing on going inside out. And there's a gap between the two. How can you reconcile that? And then also be part of the team, because as we always say, SAM takes a village. It's a team sport. So what I would say is that account-based marketing is about bringing marketing to that outside-in mindset and being able to have that same outside-in and being at the table, being part of the team. So that's why we say customer-led and team-enabled in account-based marketing. We've seen a lot of things happening in that space of how can we go from product to campaign. We do believe that it's more than that. Account-based marketing can bring, yes, the product, the campaign, the enterprise at the table in terms of part of the value offering, but they're also key in co-orchestrating this. They can be key in creating that customer journey and helping the SAM understand also beyond the point of engagement, what are some of the areas and the points that they can connect with, which is, again, prior to their engagement, to the point of when the customer is thinking about about buying and being able to personalize some of all these offerings. ABM is also the role where they know and they can help navigate their internal organization. We all know that navigating our internal organization is often a lot harder than the account. So marketing is the group that can also help there. They also can help in that customer journey to provide the insight and help in those point of communication, but doing it in a targeted and relevant manner to the account and the customer. So really being part of the team, being part of optimizing what the SAM is doing by providing that. And then, yes, of course, all the digitalization of those campaign and omni-channel, but they need to be part. I think there's a great place to be part of the ABM, of the account team, and being part upstream of being part of orchestrating, doing the strategy, co-creating that value with the SAM, and being able to really bring that value. As Dino was saying, SAM is really a business transformation. It's a long-term. It needs to have that long-term view, and it needs to have that team to do that. So for me, it's about time we really kind of re-engage and make account-based marketing part of the account team in co-creating the account plan, but also the value for a customer in a personalized and more customer-centric approach through that customer journey.
Thank you very much, Dominique. Thank you very much. One other topic that came up in terms of SAM and CAM was actually brought up by Kai during the panel, where you asked Kai about how can automatization help the SAM. And one of the suggestions that came up in the panel were also digital tools that support key account management. Ulrich, please, what is your take on that?
Yes, of course, and thank you for having me as the youngest SAM member here on this session here. So as a global tech partner, we've only been part of this for a couple of years, but really happy that the European focus is resonating so well, and I think there's a lot of potential for SAM in being here. But from the Nordic Symposium, we already got a lot of learnings, being that some of the questions were asked and really required digital tools as a solution. In the same manner as Mark Benioff from Salesforce had a big Dreamforce show, he had 5 key takeaways. 2 of them was, how do we coach business professionals in sales to actually utilize the data, which was point number 2, that is generated here to be used in a strategic manner. And I think that the strategic account managers are often building account plans that become kind of an internal shell product instead of being something that is available for all the team players that should be orchestrated in the account space to actually go out and create value. As Dominique said, for the marketing team to be able to see what are actually the progress on the account, who are the stakeholders, what are actually the foundation for all the work that we do strategically. And it's not about all the transactional data that we also generate in our CRM and ERP and supply chain systems. It's about how do we provide something that a strategic account manager as a leader can look at, get some value out of looking at, and then go out and apply in the organization to the benefit of the organization and the clients. So everything around how can we coach them on the best practice? How can we embed Dino's elements of a journey into something that is all the time available and facilitates that journey along the way of transformation program in SAM.
Thank you very much. And I think some great insights, some great reflections and perspectives. Before we jump to the key takeaways, is there anything you want to add on, something you want to mention, something that came up during what the other participants said, or should we look at the key takeaways?
I would just suggest we don't ask who the oldest member of the team is. We'll skip that piece.
I was this close to say something about that about age.
No, but I have one thing from the Nordic Symposium actually. So there was one of the participants asked, but if we have SAM, couldn't you just provide me, or could you just help me get a best practice that we can embed? And it's like, yes, we can get you inspiration, but it has to be your company's best practice, your own SAMA program. It's not an off-the-shelf product. So that was just a combined with some of the things that you said, a learning to me to actually make sure that comes across.
Fully agree.
Yeah,
with
to
that
this
one,
point, to this point, Ulrich, Sam, being the path to customer centricity, I would say you need to adapt it to your own culture and how you can really make it your own. Yeah, totally.
Great. But yeah, let's keep the discussion ongoing, and let's start with Kai's first key takeaway from the Nordics SAMA Symposium.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, it was a very exciting. This was obviously a hybrid event, which hybrid in this case meant that it wasn't digital only. We actually met live people. We sat in around tables and had discussions, which was absolutely fantastic, first time in a long time. And what I sort of, I mean, there were many things that you could discuss or as a takeaway from there, but related to what I just said before when I opened, one thing that I noticed was that people were sort of talking about this idea of struggling with the fact that they need to juggle all these different external stakeholders in this process. And that somehow relates in my mind to what Dino said before, when he said that a SAM program is not a sales initiative, it's actually a business strategy. And to me, it's also a sort of slightly different strategy compared to the old days, because this is something that I like to call a value creating strategy. So in fact, what a SAM should be involved in is to try to figure out how can we maximize value from getting different kinds of stakeholders in a fairly complex ecosystem to work together, so we can create value to us, but we can create value to our account, but also to other stakeholders in that particular this system. And it's quite obvious when I say system here now that means obviously that we need to engage and juggle with the stakeholders, but we also need to secure that we are creating value for all, and that we can share that value. And there are three specific challenges. Well, you could view them as opportunities too. The first one is that obviously when I say system, it means complexity. So we are talking about something which is much more complex than before, and that's why I'd like to see the account manager as a leader, because I mean the job of that particular leader would be to help people inside your own organization and also at the customer's end and in among other stakeholders, that they would actually see and understand that what is the value of collaboration, because in this complexity they might get confused. The second important, which I mean it relates to the first one, it actually may be a solution to the first challenge that I raised here, is the fact that in order for the system to work, it's not enough just make a value proposition to your account, to your customer, but you actually have to tailor value propositions to all the different stakeholders that you need to engage with, to sort of make it clear to them that, hey, what is the value from us collaborating together? So value proposition is becoming a really important ingredient, but it's not only for the account. And then finally, also related to what Dino said here before, I mean, it's obviously also a journey. So it's not sort of, it will never be finished. And that means that in the old days, strategic account management was very much about planning. The key tool was a strategic account plan. But today in this world, I think we need to be careful so that we don't enter into some sort of paralysis through analysis. So instead of maybe focusing only on the plan or too much on the plan, I think we need to take sort of an entrepreneurial mindset, do less planning and more action, and combine that with some sort of, some sort of agility, some sort of agile pivoting, where you test new ideas and see what really works in that account. So juggling these stakeholders, very important ingredient in the future of a SAM.
Like having, if I may, having a pragmatic account plan. So you have that flexibility, you have the planning to be prepared, but the ability to be flexible in that framework and be able to pivot according to your customer.
Exactly. Yeah, very good.
We also always tell our kind of camps and SAMs, it's about the verb, not the noun. So the account planning activities which matter, not the account plan. Again, little different, but
very good.
So it's not strategy, it's strategizing. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Great. Denise, please, what was your key takeaway?
I think building on that idea that this is a business strategy, it is the importance of executive commitment that came out over and over again. And you can really make or break a program or even a unique client relationship without having that right executive support. Some of the challenges we talked about in key account management are that issue of balancing those short-term demands that the company needs with the long-term objectives. And this is a long-term program, as we've talked about, or even acknowledging this is a farmer mentality versus a hunter mentality. And how do you balance that need in the organization? And even just the issue of internal silos or divisions, having conflicting measurements across those divisions and not being able to align fully around and adapt to a specific client need. So all of these kinds of issues, they are pervasive. We see them everywhere. And the only way to resolve it is with senior level executive support. And it's not easy. But there were a couple of ideas discussed on how to make some progress if you don't have some strong executive support. One thought was get a small success, a client or a region, so that you can quantify the results in revenue and customer satisfaction, and then get the C-suite to understand and see that dramatic impact it can have. Another thought was really aligning executive sponsors to your key account. Now, you need to do the right executive sponsor so that you actually promote this the right way. But they can help the SAM in penetrating the account differently and new levels of access. You can open more doors. You can even have a different level of conversation, more at a peer-to-peer level with a client executive. So all things considered, I really felt that was one of the key takeaways, is how critical this is for success.
Thank you. And this was also the workshop I was part of with Dominique, was exactly this topic. So yeah, super relevant. Thank you. Dino, what was your key takeaway?
Actually, I would like to build on the point that was just made by Denise, because among all the great topics that come up with, I think one thing that resonated with the participants and myself was gaining influence within the organization. Again, this is really important, and to stay true to what I just said before. And the SAM needs to become an integral part of your company strategy. You need to have this compelling vision that everyone can understand and stand behind, and to have a case for change, like why actually bother around SAM? Why do we do that? What's the kind of the purpose? And this needs to be reinforced for continuous communications and engagements. Again, you need to leverage all company channels, town hall meetings, have your executive sponsors, as Denise just said, speaking up and standing up in front of the organization and actually kind of re-emphasizing like why we do this, why this is important, and what ultimately it will generate. So this top-down sponsorship, as I always say, it's really critical. It's one of the key elements, as we just identified. But you also want to have a network of, I call them like change agents. Again, this is an ongoing process, and you always want to make sure you have your experts, your champions across the whole kind of division spread across, because you can't be everywhere and anywhere all the time. So you need to kind of multiply the effect of kind of ensuring that we are going to the right direction, that you have your kind of temperature check out there, like, are we doing well? Are we having any issues? And actually, identifying this kind of early enough to kind of change course if required. And ultimately, again, your kind of sponsors and kind of change agents help you to kind of maintain the long-term corporate-wide commitment and the support that you need. And by also removing internal barriers, especially early enough, before they become huge problems or kind of barriers. Last but not least, very briefly, the cross-functional collaboration is absolutely critical here as well. You want to have the clear commitment, you want to have accountability, shared accountability across teams. And for this, you need to empower your CAMs and SAMs. And only then they will be able to bring the best forward of the organization.
Thank you very much. Dominique, what about your key takeaway?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and as Kai was saying, it was a hybrid model. So for me, I was on the virtual side and facilitating some of the virtual workshop, and it was great to see, in fact, like having finally people face to face, being able to workshop on something. and also having, for people that were not able to be there, having the ability to also make them part of this in a virtual environment. So to build on what, again, everybody has said, I think that some of the trends that I saw in those discussions were, I think post-COVID, we're seeing an acceleration for strategic account management. The need to focus on our most important customer and have more impact and bring more value. So I think it's really an acceleration there. As Denise was saying, and I think Dino also, like the executive engagement is certainly one, because it is a business transformation. It's not a sales initiative. So you do need to have that executive engagement, and it's one that is a barrier. So a lot of discussion about how can I make this happen, and I just love in the community, in those workshops, the ability to share like some of the best practice that people can just kind of run and then apply and try it in their own organization. So executive engagement is one, and also for breaking silo. And I would add account-based marketing is another one. Marketing is internal function. It's so they have the ability to help in breaking those silo in our huge matrix organization. So again, leveraging that. We had also interesting discussion about center of excellence, whatever you name them, enabling function, having a function that help. It's interesting. We used to have enabling function for more the traditional sales. And now that, again, we're building all those SAM journey in organization, one of the discussion we're having in the workshop is that where's the enabling function? And we need also, again, as this is a business transformation, to move these enabling function as a center of excellence for SAM with people that gets it, that knows how to do that to help the organization sustain it. So these are some of the discussion point that I took from that. Personally, I can say always, again, what I find fascinating in these is that there's two things I'd like to leave with, is that it's the same issues that we're all facing across industries and across geography. It's interesting to see that, yes, needs a little bit of adaptation. I come from the pharmaceutical area. We have more regulation, but the same principle apply in terms of when you look at strategic account management for customer centricity, independent of the industry. And it's often so fun to learn from other industry, because then you can have a different perspective and then apply it. And the second point I'd like to leave that for me is always great about SEMA is that everybody's connected with the same passion. It's interesting to see how at the SEMA community we share, and people are just open to sharing what's worked, what hasn't worked, some of the failure, and really willing to help you. So it's a great community wherever you are in that maturity of your journey for SAM, to be able to connect and then exchange. And I find it fascinating that so many kind of quick tips, quick wins, and people are just wanting to connect, to continue that sharing. So always great events to be part of.
Great. Thank you. Ulrich, your key takeaway, please.
Yeah, just building on Dominique just a bit, I have experienced a lot of times that no matter what level you are at as a SAM, there's always a peer to be found in the community. You have to search sometimes, but from very early adopters and just getting to know best practices all the way through mature programs where it actually is all about reinventing them or finding new ways there. But another big takeaway, and what was brought up in our session on the Nordic Symposium, was how do I embed the account plans in CRM? We've heard that also from a number of SAM members over the time, and I think my key message is don't put your existing account plans on your CRM tools, but make sure that the tools are simple enough to create the adoption. So don't create a lot of hassle, but create something simple that is yet advanced enough to generate the data that you can actually build knowledge from and create value from. But there's a twist there between adoption and the advanced tools that you think that you need as a strategic account manager. But a big journey towards getting rid of the existing account plans and going into account planning mode, like Kai was talking about, and do an assessment, a reflection, do a plan and execute, and then reassess and get into that mode of doing it much more dynamic. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Big thank you to the panelists. It was a pleasure being the host today. One thing I would like to mention before we end this session, for everybody viewing this live, to learn more about SAMA, please visit strategicaccounts.org. And don't forget to sign up for the SAMA Global Summit. We will also share the links in the chat. It's a 2.5-day event. Besides that, thank you very much for joining us today, for tuning in, and please make sure to follow our PDO and SAMA to be part of the community and get the newest information of our upcoming events. Thank you very much. Take care and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.